Live, Punk Rock Raduno on Twitch, Franz and Andrea from Mengis, from Punk Rock Raduno, from the veterans in the house. Again, we we are never stopping every Sunday evening live on Twitch to remind you about our Little Dumb Festival and to remind you about the news of the week and just to keep ourselves company in these gray Italian evenings, and I guess gray everywhere still, but waiting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. How are you, Andrea?
Pretty good, thank you. Okay, so this is the road to the second worst Raduno. Are you doing good, Franz? How was your week?
I'm doing great. Today was the first day with live music at Edonè. We started with a brunch, with a lunch around 11 o'clock, a more North European thing, and so we had like the park of Edonè set up with tables and a new stage in the center of all the tables. And there was a band made by some local guys playing like soul covers. And people came, a lot of people came, like more than 250 people like signed for the lunch. And so I
wish I was there.
Yes, I even spin some records just because the atmosphere was good, and I said, like, you know what, I'm gonna bring my records, and I'm gonna even if the young kids don't want to listen to my old dirty records, but still they were forced to, and no, it was really good.
Excuse me. If I understood correctly, you said you're having the stage in the middle of the tables, like a box ring. So you're watching the kids from all sides.
Exactly. Wow. 60s style. Yes, and we are gonna use it for our event.
Ooh, really?
We're gonna use it. Yes.
I'm just learning about this now. This is very exciting.
Because we can say now that the second worst Raduno will have like 3 days of program, and the Sunday we are gonna have a brunch. Okay, in the morning and in the afternoon with acoustic performances, and we are gonna use that stage, and even people that you will not expect, and we tried to announce them during the dummy room interview, but some people didn't understood who I was talking about, so they keep asking me who is the special guest that never played acoustic. So again, who is gonna be? We don't know, and soon we are gonna announce it.
Who knows who's going to be?
Who knows?
For the first time ever, making a fool of himself.
We say,
who knows?
Athena, hello. Thank you so much for joining. And Athena says that she thinks she knows. And Andre, do you want to do a reminder about the second worst? Sorry again? I lost you for a second. Oh, I lost you totally now. Oops. Oh, I'm alone now. Let's see if we can get back Andrea from the stream. Of course, technical problems. Can you hear me now, Andrea? No?
I hear you well. I'm not sure how come I'm not online anymore. I'm sorry, I'm not at my place. And but the Wi-Fi here should be right. I don't know.
Okay, because you were delayed. You were delayed on the answer. So you want to do a recap of what is gonna happen in July related to Punk Rock Raduno?
Recap what we announced so far. So far we announced that the second worst Raduno is gonna happen on July 16, 17, and 18. In Bergamo, Italy, of course, Edonè. And so far, we just announced that the headliners for the first night, the Friday, are going to be Judah from Italy.
Yep.
And the headliners for the Saturday are going to be the Apers for the 25 years, let's call it a reunion show, even if the band is still active on and off over the years. But still, it's going to be a great party. And another band we announced through a dummy room episode are the Magwamps from Austria.
Yes, yeah, it's not so many people know about it, but yes, like the Apers, that's correct. Judah and the Magrabs are gonna join, and soon, hopefully this week, we are gonna launch the event, launch the hostel reservation, and we are gonna launch also the reservation for the festival and announce new bands. So we have a lot of things in the next couple of weeks. The more we're approaching the date, the more we have to do, Andrea. So are you ready about that?
No, it's gonna be a lot of work like every year.
Yes. Yes. And with less time to work on it, because this year is going to be completely new. So we're going to see about that. But another
Making it up
news.
as we go. Excuse.
No. Go on. What you were saying.
No, I just say making it up as we go is just that it's not a usual Raduno year where you start planning many months in advance. But with this pandemic, we've been taking decisions at the last minute for quite a few weeks now, and now we have 2 months before the festival, and there's still a lot of work to do. So good luck to us and to the Raduno team.
It feels like the first ever Raduno, or the second one, where we find ourselves like 1 month, booking the whole thing. But let's see what's going to happen. One thing that is going to happen tomorrow, 6 p.m. Set time, so European time and Rome time, is going to be that we are going to launch the pre-order for the beautiful McCracken's live in Italy. Well, actually live at Punk Rock Raduno LP. And McCracken's, the fabulous punk rock band from Canada, they took the recordings of their appearance at Punk Rock Raduno 4, and they mixed it, and they collected in this beautiful LP with a beautiful artwork and many different variants. And they are having like several labels collaborating, releasing it in different formats on LP, on tape, and even 8-track. And you can ask Athena about that. And so we are gonna we collaborate. We were glad to be asked to collaborate with them as Punk Rock Raduno, and we have our variant, which is kind of a sort of yellow variant with splatter and a lot of colors, and we only have 40 of those. And so tomorrow at 6 p.m. we are gonna launch the pre-sale. So if you want to have one of those 40 Punk Rock Raduno variants of the McCracken's live in Italy, you can go to punkrockraduno.com or to our Bandcamp page, merchandise page, and you will find it there together with the remaining copies of the Creeps LP. We got even some copyrights live in Italy LP, and we even got some merchandise. And if you buy that merchandise and these LPs, you support the festival, and you're helping us not only booking the second worst Raduno, but also bringing you Punk Rock Raduno 5, which is going to be, next year. And here is all the information you can see. In the meantime, we got a lot of people connecting. So let's see. Athena says she's really the recordings are amazing. And Paulino from Flanders 72 made amazing artwork. Yes, Willie Kiss inspired artwork. And of course, as usual, you can join in the fun and the club posting about it, in particular for our next guest that we are going to announce soon. And he's ready here with us, and it's a big pleasure and it's a big honor. And what else? Did we forget, Andrea? Anything else you want to say?
I'm not sure there is any more to say about the festival beside the fact that yes, we're gonna put on a Facebook event as soon as we finish the art and graphics for the second Worst Raduno, which are in the work and should be ready very soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. And also
new merchandise, of course.
Yes,
which is really awesome.
And we have 2 new LPs. You want to talk about that too? Like we announced it in some podcast or on the Dummy Room or in other Twitch live, or I don't know if we mentioned it.
our live LP series is gonna have 2 new titles. We started with the Clips and the Dequex live at Punk Rock Raduno, and title number 3 and 4 of the series are gonna be the Cart Baker Band and Senza Benza.
Yeah,
In particular, Senza Benza are gonna be co-released with my own label, Stripe Records, because Senza Benza are an Italian band. They started with pop punk at the end of the 80s, so we can call them like the very real first Italian pop punk band, because all of a sudden they started, influenced by the Hard-Ons, by the way, from Australia. They went to a Hard-Ons show and decided to start a band and play pop punk, and that is very exciting for the whole Italian scene to have them still around, to watch them playing live at the Punk Rock Raduno a couple of years ago, and now this live album is pretty good, and I'm very proud of releasing it.
Yeah, they did a fantastic setup. But in my eyes, every band playing at Punk Rock Raduno, they always play the best set of their lives. But of course, it's just my my perception of it. But these 2 lives that we're gonna record, we're gonna release, like the Senza Benza one and the Cart Baker combo one, they are like really, really good, and they're gonna be limited. You hopefully gonna find them at the Second Worst Raduno, or you can pre-order it to the website, and the Cart Baker combo one is gonna be co-released with Hey Pizza Records, Nate from the Dummy Rooms label, and we want to go on with that. I think it would be cool if we keep recording bands at Punk Rock Raduno or Second Worst Raduno, and then the basically the series never ends.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Or it ends when we are gonna. Yeah. Let's see what happens. So, Andrea, I want to.
We'll keep recording them.
Yes, exactly. So, first of all, Capo, hi, Chich, hello. Thanks so much for joining in.
Wow.
And Andrea, do you want to tell me? We already announced who's gonna be the guest of tonight. Do you remember the first time you met him or you saw him live?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was 96 or 97. I don't know. I'm not sure. We should ask him which was the time for his first Italian tour. I saw Mr. T Experience in a club in Reggio Emilia called Mafia. I think this was their first tour alone after the tour they did with Green Day. So I don't know, somewhere between 98, 97, 96. I don't know. We should ask Frank. And then the second time I opened with my band a show of the Queers and the Mr. T Experience, and I believe it was 2000 in Genoa. Anyway, I started listening to them with the Love Is Dead album, and quickly we went on with getting the back catalog, and it's an amazing band from the 90s. What can I say? The Lookout Records distributor in the 90s, the Italian distributor for the records was actually in a town called Pisa, which is about an hour by train from our hometown, from where the Manges are coming from. So what we did, it was, get on the train and go to this record shop, which was also the distributor for Lookout Records in the Italian, 2 other Italian shops. So we found all the catalog there. You just go and sprint to the records, and all the Lookout catalog available in that moment was there. So for us, it was like a paradise. So picking up the records, asking the clerk to play them to us. I remember it was exciting times for us.
That's beautiful. And I can tell you that I was probably 17 or 18. Yes, 18. And I took a train and I came to Genova to see you and Mr. T. I was at that show of the
Ah,
Manges and
really?
the Mr. T experience. Yes, I
Ah,
remember
cool.
it vividly. We didn't know each other yet, but I was there.
No,
I
I
was
don't think so.
didn't I only 18. Anyway, you already know who we are talking about. He's probably considered one of the best punk rock songwriters in history. He's an old friend. He's a beautiful person. He's a great writer. He's a novel writer too, and he has been, one of the people that helped us booking the festival. In particular, the second one when he just decided to fly in and. And play a special show for us. And you probably don't know about this, Andrea, is also one of the reasons why I'm working at Dedone now, because one of his shows, a secret show, basically connected me with my partners at Dedone now, my
Really?
partners at job. Yeah, so we're gonna discuss it too. Probably Frank doesn't know this as well. So please, ladies and gentlemen, big applause, internet applause to the one and only Frank Portman, the Doctor.
Hey,
Welcome, Frank.
thanks for the internet applause.
Here it is.
Hey,
Here is the internet
that's great.
applause.
That is a lot of claps.
We don't have the effect yet of applauding, but it's like we. First of all, thank you so much. How are you? What are you doing?
Yeah, I am good, and thanks for inviting me. This is more interesting than my usual Sunday, so I appreciate it.
Where are you now? We are in Oakland, and
Oakland, California. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and what are you focusing on in these days?
I have lots of little things that are in the background, but the most of the work is involved with this reissue project that I'm doing with the Sounds Radical label of trying to reiterate the entire catalog in as beautiful a way as possible, and it's a lot bigger of a job than I expected when I first had the idea of trying to do it, and it takes up your whole day.
Yeah, it's a big work, and we are gonna discuss about that too soon. First of all, people connected, if you want to ask a question to Dr. Frank, you just have to type in and join the party. And did you know? I want to tell this story because Andrea doesn't know it. Do you remember the first time we met, Frank?
I think it was at that at least it was on that week of the secret show for Beppe's wedding. Is that correct? And you had a fanzine, and we did an interview. And
Exactly.
yeah, in Bergamo for my first time in Bergamo.
So basically, to tell the story, like Frank flew into Italy secretly as a special wedding present for a friend of ours called Beppe that we say hi. And so basically, his friends, without telling him, asked Dr. Frank, "Can you come and play his wedding because he's your biggest fan?" And so Frank decided to do it, and he played at the wedding party. But before that, the same people asked me, just to try to cover a little bit more cost, I guess, or just to have fun. Like they told me, like, "Hey, do you want to book a show in Bergamo for Frank? But you cannot basically promote it because, of course, if we promoted it." When we will spoil the surprise for the people getting married, so basically we booked this show of Frank in this park in the city, and through these new guys in town that were really active in booking shows, and they did a little open air festival that was not really an open air festival, was just an event with on a garden. And it happens that basically Frank played the park and the exactly place where Edone stands now. So he basically played Edone before it was Edone, before even the walls existed. And that's how I met the people that we made it on air with. So basically that show, the fact that he flew in to play the wedding, and the fact that he came to play like Bergamo made me, meet the people like that we do the venue now. And of course, so basically without you, Frank, I will not have a job, and we will not have a festival.
Well, yeah. Sorry about that. No, I was really surprised to realize that was the same place, because Edene was it, I don't know if it was the same, under the same auspices, but when I returned to play those shows on the Kepi art tour with Stefan in 2012, we played there. And then it was a cemetery, right? It was a park that had been a cemetery. And so worlds colliding. It all it was very surprising to me too when it all clicked. And I would say that the secrecy was successful. Beppe was very surprised. I've probably never seen a more surprised face than his face when I walked in there to the wedding reception. So that was a fun time.
And for the people that doesn't know Beppe, he's the guy that deserve a surprise like that. So his friends and Paolo too. Paolo Proserpio, part of the festival. Did a beautiful present. And we mentioned the fact that you played the second Punk Rock Raduno ever, and for us was big deal. Which kind of memories you had about the festival, and which feelings you had? Like you thought that we were all crazy or something like that, or what is your memories about that?
I wasn't surprised. I knew that this was the case, but to see it in real life still was kind of overwhelming. Which is the fact that I don't know why, but probably because of you, really. Bergamo and Lombardy, I guess is what it's called, is the center of enthusiasm for the Lookout Records style of punk rock, the 90s pop punk or whatever you want to. It's like the Berkeley Annex 30 years later. And it was really something. I mean, I guess there were people from all over the place that were congregated there.
Yeah, from all over Europe.
It was wild. And just, I am always, I'm always pleasantly surprised when people have enough interest to pay attention enough to the stuff that I did back then, and it's still a project that's going on, so it's what I'm still doing now on some level, and I don't take it for granted because I don't expect it. So when you get that kind of love from people, it is it's really touching, it's really overwhelming, and it does seem a little crazy, but I'm very glad when it happens. And there was this whole this area with all these people that knew all the stuff that I've been doing for 3 decades. Unlikely as that seems, it's in Italy, and you have to go to Italy to commune with that sort of person, but that's where they are.
Yeah, I really like the mix we did, pairing you with a European band which is called Lone Wolf. They are very good, and the show was great. I think they were very tight.
They were great.
And what I wanted to tell you is recently, like a few weeks ago, I was checking out the Raduno YouTube channel, because sometimes I remind myself to take care of that. And I was rewatching some of the live videos. And of course, there is a video of you playing on stage with Lone Wolf, and still you can see the energy and the fun of that night that I remember quite well. I was probably drunk, but I remember it quite well. Anyway,
yeah, I remember you. Yeah.
Watching the video, the first thing you say is, "I am Dr. Frank. I am the father of Green Day." And I know, if I remember correctly, that this was kind of a joke because you heard something like a story on the news. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so that was when I think I was told about it, or when I arrived, some local news coverage described me. It was explained to me by various Italians, father of Green Day, and and I would get people, good naturedly, but also, kind of in a spirit of sarcasm or irony, saying, it's the father of Green Day. Will you sign my record, Father of Green Day? And so I used that joke for quite a while, even after returning home. I would have been I'd forgotten about it till you mentioned it. But yeah, he said, well, as you know, I'm the father of Green Day, so I expect due respect and special treatment. But yeah, that was very funny.
So, as a father of Green Day, are you proud of them as a father even now?
Oh yeah. They're it's so unlikely to get anywhere in show business and rock and roll. I'm glad that it happened to those guys. That could there were a lot of potentially, well, I don't want to. They were the good ones, and so I'm glad they got the best punk rockers award, because yeah, they were good. They deserve it.
That's good. I like the fact that you were saying like there were maybe some bad ones that could happen to, but
to me, this is it's the whole point of this music is the songs, and the whole point of the songs is what makes a good song, what makes a good pop song. There are a lot of bands that don't represent that very well, and it was not as interesting to me, but those guys were the guys that did it. And there's different competing versions of what that means, but I did feel when they hit it big that our side won. And so I had a sort of vicarious pleasure in that.
Yeah, you touched a point that I'm really interested in, because I think one of the things that probably connect you a lot with the Italian audience, but really, connect your writing to a lot of people, is the fact that you write good songs, but also write really deep, sarcastic sometimes, but really smart songs. Like, you're a really smart writer, and you can see that your craft of songwriting evolved with every record. So, a lot of people tend to, let's say, focus on the energy of punk or on the sound of punk. But I think that the special thing about MTX or your songwriting is the fact that you wrote really, 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 if I should use one example as a good pop punk song, I will use a Mr. T Experience song, probably one of yours. And I was wondering, like, if you ever thought, like, being one of the best, in my opinion, like, that you deserved more, because of course you're one of the bands that you will remember the most, and that maybe touch our hearts of punk rockers the most. But still, you had a good career, but at the same time, a lot of other people got famous and stuff like that. So do you believe that maybe, if people was more interested in quality and good songwriting, you could have achieved more?
Well, in a word, yes. I think that there. I mean, the thing that I turned out to be good at was writing that particular kind of song. That's what is interesting about the whole project, and that is a hard thing to get across to a skeptical audience, which all audiences are, if they're not. I don't know what it takes to spark the kind of attention. I mean, I've done the best I could. That would to spark the kind of attention that would lead to a greater attention and success and etc. I mean, it hasn't been bad, but I think that as a so-called artist, the dream of having a little bit of an easier time of it is, I can't deny that I would like that or would have liked that. But also it's an acquired taste, and my idea of what makes a good song and good music, isn't everybody's. And people have other things that they're maybe interested in. And I get that for sure. And, I'm not saying that I'm not always the best version of that thing either. Part of the, part of what you have to do when you do this project that I've been doing, which is, really taking it, like halfway through, I started taking it really seriously, as far the writing, and you've got to let yourself open for doing a lot of experimentation and making mistakes and everything. And, your audience always isn't so tolerant of it. And it's the way you have to do it to get the result, but you can't always bring everyone along with you when you do it. And that's just kind of what life is like. Now, all that said, the fact that I can still, that people still listen to those old songs, and I can still write songs, and there's a core of people still interested. That's something to be very thankful for. That's not something to take for granted. And a lot of people who were far more successful in some ways in 1997 uh, can't necessarily say that their stuff is still listened to for fun in uh in 2021. And so I'm pleased with that situation. And it's better to have many years of stuff that you did rather than a big attempt at a splash that just completely went away. And that's what most likely would have happened had you imagine the alternate timeline where some big label had come up and said, here, sign this, we're gonna put $1 million into making you a star. That wouldn't have worked, and that would have been the last you heard from me, most likely, if the usual pattern of the way that show business works out. You have your big record, it flops, and then you disappear off the face of the earth. So I'm glad not to have disappeared off the face of the earth.
No, and we are glad and thankful. And actually, you were successful in two different kind of writing, because you did the whole catalog of Mr. T Experience Records and some solo stuff, but also you became a writer for novels. And your first book, King Dork, it was a hit in America, right?
Yeah,
Like
it was
a
a big success unexpectedly. I'm often asked about the difference between the two things, the rock and roll and the songwriting versus the novel writing. And at the time, to a degree, but even more now, I really do look at them as part of the same overall, entity. There's the literary version, there's the song version, it's all part of the same, whatever it is, this little this glob of stuff that I've been working on. But you have to I just have followed what make the most of what little I have, and that writing the novels was an example. And that was probably the most successful single thing that I did, was King Dork. It made the biggest splash.
So there was a moment that you decided, okay, I'm gonna go on with this form of art, and I'm gonna become, I'm gonna focus on writing instead of music. Because I remember there was a specific moment that you basically stopped doing records, and then you focus on the writing.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence, but it's also not wasn't a determined decision. It was just the music business, so to speak, even on the tiny levels, on the level of the Mr. T Experience and Lookout Records, just completely collapsed in 2004 when our final Lookout record came out, Yesterday Rules, and there was just people stopped buying records, so it was a challenge to figure out what to do. I was looking for something to do with my life, as always, and it just didn't seem like there was any future in, at least we couldn't do it the way that we did it, which was recording a record and then doing a tour and selling the records out of the van, because people wanted to buy the shirts, but they didn't want to buy the music. So I had this opportunity to try the book writing thing, and that was where the action was. So I did that, and then about 10 years later, just fortuitously, because my band started playing again, we came together just to put out to record a theme song for one of the books, and then that turned out to be unexpectedly viable. So then we started doing that for a while, and I imagine similar rolling with the waves, similar sea changes will continue to happen, and you just adapt to the landscape you're in. I would, if I could, I would wave a magic wand and return the world to 1997, because that was a really good environment for recording a medium priced record, and making back the money you spent on it, and continuing as a sort of a career as a small independent artist. It's very, very challenging to do anything remotely like that now. And it was, although there are more opportunities now for whatever reason than there were in the 10 years of the 2003 to 2013, where basically my rock and roll career was, so to speak, was dormant.
I see. And you mentioned the fact that now, like, basically making a career out of music is more difficult. One thing that always impressed me is that you were with Lookout Records since the beginning. Like, basically, you crossed the whole, experience of Lookout Records. Like, you basically were there, you were from the Bay Area, and then you started, and then you did the whole mid 90s punk rock or pop punk explosion, and then you also crossed with the Lookout to the Chris Applegreen era, and you basically were the last record that Lookout Records put out. So that you basically never really changed the label until like Lookout was done. Why is that? Because you could not, like, you will not want to leave, or just because you were happy? How was the experience?
Well, yeah, I mean, up until that last record, I would have, I had the analysis that it was the best possible situation for what we were trying to do, and what I could reasonably expect to have, which is basically a label like that, they would help you put out your own record, and then you could really you would make of it what you could, and it was very possible to do it and in a self-sustaining way. And I know that I like I said, the guy who offered the $1 million contract, I certainly, if somebody actually did that, I'm sure I would have, like anybody else, would have taken it. But since nobody ever did that, and I didn't, I mean, so that's the version of it that doesn't happen. The version of it that happens is you hire a bunch of lawyers and publicists and say, get me a major label deal, and they hustle and hustle and hustle and get it to happen. And I think in a lot of cases when people did that, the result was not very good in the end.
Okay,
and I knew that at the time. And so I just thought, I will just continue within the means that we have, which meant my modest band and my whatever I had to offer, which was the songwriting, and just put out these modest records rather than putting everything on hold to try to get the big thing that probably wasn't going to work out anyway. And that seemed like the smart thing to do. And then, as you said, once Lookout collapsed, it wasn't just Lookout collapsing, it was the entire world collapsing as far as the business of music. And and so the idea, a lot of people who were continuing to do it, they would find other people to put their records out. But as I explained, I was sort of jumping into the literary world at the time, and so it just never really came up after that. Even after Lookout stopped putting out records, I wasn't in a position to put out more records either. So it was and I came back on the record putting out scene much later, to 2014, 2015. And everything had completely changed. But in a way it was similar. The stuff that we've put out recently, the new stuff and the reissues has been on the same kind of model as those early days. It's just people buy them for different reasons, and they still don't want to buy music, but they want to buy a souvenir. So you're in the souvenir business, which is a little bit different. It was a little bit that way in the old days, but now it's really that days. It's really that way. You're selling collector's items, and you adapt to what the landscape you're in. But no, it was, and I was never mad at I mean, a lot of people kind of took their experience with the collapse of the music industry kind of personally, and blamed this or that label and everything. I never blamed Lookout Records for it specifically. It was a much bigger, more global situation where what went wrong all across the board. And so but there was never a point where it was like we had a big meeting and say, okay, I'm sticking with you guys, or I have to am I going to stick with you? It just sort of, it pressed pause on the whole thing. And so that's how it happened.
It really surprised me, if not shocks me, the fact that it's not only me thinking about you as one of the best songwriters and best bands, and you say like Modest Records, but if we set the bar of Modest Records with your records, then all the rest of the stuff is really terrible. But anyway, it really surprised me, the fact that you never got a offer as a songwriter, or just to join another label. It really shocks me back in those days, because you were the quality of your releases, I mean, still now holds up, and considering that a lot of people got offers, or even just to write songs for other artists and stuff like that, it really shocks me, the fact that you never got such offers or something approach it.
That's kind of you to say. And like I said, I think part of it was I wasn't really agitating for it. I don't know what would have happened if I had hired some hotshot and say, come on, make me famous, get me some stuff. I didn't, it wasn't something I did. But yeah, I don't know. It like I said, who knows what there's a success sort of in show business is very, it's a lot of luck, a lot of if everybody knew that, if the formula was so completely clear, then then everybody would do it. But a lot of people fall by the wayside when they try to turn creative output, when they try to turn art into money. They're it's a tale as old as time that doesn't always work out that well. So but as always, I just felt that the best, the least and most I could do is just try to do what I could to tend my own garden, which in those terms for me just meant gradually chipping away at the making the writing sharper and sharper and more interesting. At least that's the goal. And then the result, ultimately zooming out, is that there's still some life in all this old stuff, which there wouldn't be, I think, if I hadn't buckled down on the material and turned the songs into something that that had something to offer beyond the moment,
I
where
see.
it's just really loud in the room, which there is a lot of energy from that. But once you're not in the room anymore, you have to have a thing that has some merit and quality, and that's the elusive part. And that's luckily that gamble was, it didn't make anyone $1 million, but it did have proved to have some staying power, which is better than there are worse things to happen.
Perfect. And the result of it is that we are talking now, and we can review your discography from the fact that now you are focusing on restore some of the tapes and make them relive with some new editions of your records or some new compilations. Do you want to talk to us about that and how you started the whole process?
Yeah, it was a much bigger job than I expected when I first had the idea of it. I entered it very naively, kind of. When we were in the first iteration of these records, I kind of left all that stuff up to others. I
Yeah.
wasn't that involved in uh, the the I had a finger in it, but I wasn't, all of the mechanics of it and the logistics of it and the funding and the mastering and the cutting and all that stuff. Now I'm on the point of where on the level of kind of being involved in decisions about manufacturing the metal parts for the stampers for the vinyl, but in those days it was just my job was being a kind of sloppy disorganized guy who had some songs and somehow managed to get the band in the studio. And luckily, if you managed to get it all the way to the end, it was success. So the when I came to this material, I had naively assumed that the tapes would be somewhere well organized and well labeled, and all I would have to do is say, now Tape Fairy, please present me with the tapes for the Revenge is Sweet and So Are You album. And in fact, it was not that simple, and I had to chase all around, and I wish I'd started that process earlier, but I didn't realize it would be so challenging. And I went through a period starting around, I actually credit that I can credit that tour, that little art tour that I did with Kepi and Stefan, with
Okay.
the origin for this project, because that had brought me back into, that was 2012. I hadn't done any music at all for years, and that brought me back into to doing it. And you realize it's kind of fun to play these songs in front of people, and people really do like these songs, even people who don't speak English. That's really is kind of shocking, because the text is really where it's at with this stuff. And so that's when I started reviewing the old records, and to try to decide whether there was something worthwhile. And I hadn't listened to them in years and years and years. And I documented this process on the Facebook. I sort of say, okay, now I'm going to listen to Milk Milk Lemonade and type out all of my criticisms and everything. And so that's when uh, Chris Applegren and I decided to at least put the catalog on the internet, Spotify, etc., just so it would be available. And that's when we started wrestling with what the catalog meant. And then so all the 10 years later, we're actually coming to grips with it. And at that time, I didn't realize what you really had to do to take a tape that you may or may not be able to locate and turn it into a good sounding vinyl record. But now I know, and it's really hard. So, but we're doing the best we can. And it's challenging and time consuming and very frustrating, because there's a lot of things you can't find. But it's also very interesting and can be very fun. I love putting out records, and we've done some really, I've had some really beautiful products in this, and we just have more and more plans for the future, and it's going to be a good time.
Well, one of those is this one that I hold in my hands is the Shards Part 1. I still have to get the number 2 and the MTX Forever compilation, but this one is not a reissue of one of the, old records, but it's part compilation of unreleased stuff, demos, and various stuff from singles and other stuff like that. Is that correct?
Well, basically, what so the reason why there are shards, we call them shards or orphaned songs. When we had our band put out these albums at the time, from 86 through 2004 in that iteration of the band. And then there were all these random other tracks, I guess, odds and sods sort of compilation tracks and so forth. And typically what we did was we would, when we put out the record, we would pile those on CDs as extra tracks. And in the end, that became very confusing because you couldn't always tell whether the extra stuff was part of the record, and they weren't very carefully done. They weren't carefully mastered. They were just kind of dumped on there in more or less an archival spirit. And so Chris and I, when we reconstituted the catalog digitally as a digital download streaming thing, we decided to disaggregate the extra stuff from the albums as they came out, which mainly the main one was were vinyl LPs, usually had 12 to 16 songs on them, and then the CDs had the extra songs. So those were the extra songs that we didn't know what to do with because they weren't part of any of those releases. So that's when we decided we will collect them into compilations. And so there were 3 volumes worth of these extra songs essentially, and the third one is just coming out in July.
Oh, perfect.
Beautiful. So Shards Volume 3, that's all from 7 inches. It's B-sides and A-sides that weren't part of albums. And once that comes out, that will be at least, then we'll do the albums one by one, and there will be complete coverage, is the idea, if we get to all the records.
So let me see if I got it wrong. So basically there is the number 1 and 2 out already. And the third one, what is going to be like the if the second one is 7 inches, is the shard number?
The first 2 were all those shards that I described. They were they were extra tracks that were released, but in various forms and on CDs, etc. So the third one are all of from singles.
I see.
That weren't on albums. So for example, you've got the 2 songs from the Vital Music Sex Offender 7-inch, the Blondie cover Sex Offender, and then the original version of Last Time I Listened to You, which was re-recorded for Milk Lemonade. So those songs were never on any album. And you're holding another one there. That's the Love American Style 7-inch. So the B-sides of that are on this new one as well. The Spider-Man and the Partridge Family cover. So it's just a way to have them. And, it really is astounding what happens when you take this old stuff and have it properly treated, because in a lot of cases, it was we would do these recordings and send a DAT to whoever in Iowa was putting out the compilation or the 7-inch, and I don't know how they master what they did, and sometimes it's really shocking the difference of how it sounds. That I just was that Somebody Wants to Love You from that record you just held up, the sound of that just knocked me flat. The remastered, it's the same, it's the tape that whatever wound up on that wound up a certain way, but anyway, it's astounding the differences that you can get with we were always short of budget and short of time, and I don't think we took the B-sides all that seriously. So it's an opportunity to, I think, present the material as its best self, and sometimes the results are really amazing. which is it's cool.
Yeah, I don't remember much care about mastering in the independent scene in the 90s.
Yeah.
So,
No,
when
you
you
just kind
sent
of threw it all out there and hope for the best.
Yeah, it was a different process. I actually, what really impressed me from this one is that there is this version of a Sackcloth and Ashes that then it appears on Love Is Dead, I guess. And there is a version of, I don't know if it's a demo version, it's only you and a guitar and your voice. And you actually mentioned that you double tracked the guitar with a Silvertone, and that I wanted to record a whole album like this, still do.
Yeah.
And that really shocked me, because I said, like, I really want to listen to this album you mentioned. Like, if you record an album like this, I really want to hear it.
Well,
because it
that's
sounds great.
encouraging, because I still do. I just using the tremolo as a rhythm is a awesome thing to do, and you can do so much with it. And I very the sort of forcing yourself into minimalism, where it's the process is right up front and the material is right up front, is challenging, but a great thing to do. So yeah, maybe one of these days, who knows.
That's beautiful. And I don't know, like, I could go on forever, and so stop me when I get excited. So one of the records, I guess you're gonna reissue this one, which to me, I don't know if everyone has basically his favorite Mr. T Experience favorite record, which is always is in between Love Is Dead, Revenge Is Sweet, and also Our Bodies, Ourselves. And I see a resurgence of Alcatraz lately. A lot of people think like Alcatraz is most one of your best records, but this one,
there are people that still shocks me because of how universally it was hated when it came out. But yeah, I'm glad somebody likes it.
Yeah, it gets better with time.
Yeah, I mean,
I was not ready.
I was already an old guy when I was doing that. I was, maybe I'm sure that when I was 16, I might not have liked it either. But what can you do? You have to follow your star.
Yeah,
sure.
So my favorite one, probably my favorite, let's say, pop punk record, as pop as a sense of having a lot of melody, is Revenge Is Sweet. And so you're not just because of the songwriting, but in general as a package and stuff. And I always felt like you wanted to do more with this record. Like, it seems like the Love Is Dead formula, the records written here were more like complex and more different. You were maybe looking for different arrangements or stuff like that, because there is some acoustic songs, there are some variants of the guitars and stuff like that. So I will never get tired enough to hear about this record, because I think songwriting wise and in the lyrics in particular, this is your best stuff.
Thanks for saying that. I mean, I would say I agree that the composition, the songs, the lyrics, I never did a better job at sort of that kind of thing, and couldn't do it. It was those were the high watermark of what you could do with that. I don't know. It's like, punk rock meets Tin Pan Alley. And I still think those songs hit it out of the park. As people who've, see me agonizing over this stuff on the internet over the past few years will know I have a lot of mixed feelings about the way it came out, because I had as you say, I had a very different idea for the treatment that I wanted. And I was trying very hard not to do a record that sounded like that. Even though it's fine. I said I wanted not Love Is Dead 2. It's a more impactful, more controlled, more polished version of that, but I wanted more sonic variety basically. And I wasn't, for a variety of reasons, that wasn't allowed to happen. And that caused a big, that caused a big train wreck really in the creative process afterwards, because I didn't want to do it again. I didn't want to have a third version where all the songs sounded the same. That was the thing that really bothered me. And and the paradox there is, the reason people love it is the same reason I had reservations about it. If I had got my way, no one would have liked it. So the things went wrong in certain ways. Things went wrong in a way that turned out to be right. I get why people like it. It's its own sound, and it's a cool sound. But I, had these, I think that a lot of the subtleties in the compositions were kind of lost in the, almost generic arrangements. And, at the time, I really thought that I would be able to, get the basic tracks and then go in the, post-production and snazz it up. And I was really shocked to find that there was no budget for me to do the snazzing it up, and we had to just do it as it was, which, the pop punk world is probably happy and has a lot to be grateful for. The fact that we ran out of budget, I think that was our producer kind of wanted it that way as well. Our label wanted it that way. Everyone wanted it that way. And so I was not going to triumph over all those forces arrayed against. And it is, I've come to terms with it is the way it is. But at the time I was very demoralized with the fact that it didn't come out the way that I was dreaming of. I had delusions of grandeur. I had written the greatest piece of pop art ever written, and no one realized it, because they just thought, oh, it's just another one of these pop punk records. And I was above myself a bit. That's part of it. But now you look back, that's going back over 20 years. And what I know now and what I realize now is that all of that stuff doesn't really matter as much as you think it does. Production decisions, guitar sound, drum sound, do we have, where things are panned, it's the songs that make the difference. And that's what causes it to be worthwhile, and that's what's remembered. And those songs are they're as far as the kind of thing I can do, kind of thing I was trying to do, they're right up there with like I said, I probably couldn't do any better than that. So, and here's the other thing that you might be interested in with regard to the reissue of that is one of the records where most of the master tapes, that is the multi-track master tapes, have either disappeared or are unlabeled, so I don't know whether they exist or not. Out of 8 reels, I think I have 3. So basically that means that a remix is not going to happen. So for better or worse, it's going to be the way it is, which is the way people like it. I think we can undo some of the over compression that makes it sound a little bit claustrophobic, which will be nice. But that's another project that so all my plans for world domination were premature. And I'm not going to get a chance to go back and try to retroactively dominate the world through my crazy production ideas in that one retroactively. I'm not going to be able to be George Lucas, no matter how much I might like to be. So
if I can ask you one thing, is do not re-record it.
Yeah, no, I don't. You can't go back. You can't go back. It's part of history. It's part of what was. And like I say, that's a decision you have to make because you don't want to try to rewrite history. And even on the level of not re-recording it, which I agree, that's a bad idea. But even how much you want to try to, you want to present it as its best self, but it's also something that, you know, it was a part of it's small part, but a part of history. And so you need to strike a balance between the improvements that you can make, like you can make the low end sound better, but you don't want to add a pile of reverb on it, for instance, which is some people do with their remasters. You know, so it's a delicate balance. I hope we strike the right balance, but in that case, there isn't a whole lot we can do. The 2-track master mix has survived, so that's what we're gonna go of our mastering, and that's what we used for the there were 4 songs from that record on the MTX Forever compilation, and part of the rationale for the MTX Forever compilation was as a trial run for all these, to see what happens when you master from these tapes and to see what, you know, what can be done with them. So we had a trial run last year.
I see. So before, like, I have a lot of questions here from people that is following us. Keep them coming. I just one question more about, you know, their issues. Checking the tapes, did you find anything that, you know, that you're gonna add to the new releases? Like, did you find some forgotten songs or something that you didn't remember and you're gonna be a nice addition?
So far, not all that much. I know there's one song, there's one track from the Yesterday Rules sessions that didn't get finished, and that can be mixed, and that'll probably be part of that. Mostly there weren't a lot of outtakes because we use them all for the shards.
I see.
So but that said, there may be things I'm not thinking of, and we haven't gone to the point of trying to restore and transfer the multi-track tapes. So there may be stuff on there that I've completely forgotten about. Probably some very embarrassing stuff, because if it was too marginal for my band to put out, then, you know, it was really marginal. We didn't care that much, you know, especially in those early and middle periods. We just like dumped it all out there. So, but it's still an ongoing process. The only other thing I'll say to that is one idea that I have for whenever that there's various technical issues that have to be resolved before we deal with Love Is Dead. But you know, one thing, I discovered my Love Is Dead notebook a few years back, which is this actual notebook that is like a, you know, school notebook that I actually wrote on the cover, Love Is Dead by Dr. Frank. And that's where I had all those songs written, including a whole bunch of other songs that I'd forgotten about. And one idea for to accompany the release of that record is to actually record some of those 1995 94 95 songs, just try to recreate what they would have sounded like. So I mean, that's a big project as well, but maybe that'll happen.
Cool. And just curious, so do you have a favorite Mr. T Experience album, in your opinion? Like the one you care the most, or the more you're most proud of?
Yeah, you know, it took like almost, you'd almost have to characterize it as self-administered therapy to even get to the point where I could bear listening to them. I mean, for so many years, all I heard were the mistakes, the errors, the problems. It was a deeply unpleasant experience to listen to them. And I had to, in the process of doing this, I came to terms with it and how to acquired a more philosophical, more balanced view of it, trying to, you know, consciously stand outside myself and not cringe through the whole thing. So there's flaws in all of them. I always say that the release that is most pleasing to me is the Women Who Love Them EP, just because the history of that was it was recorded under such dire circumstances, and nobody, least of all me, expected it to be any good. And then when we finally tracked down the tape and put it on, I'm talking back in 1994, and I realized, wow, this actually does sound good. It was such a surprise and such a turnaround. And also that was the time when I was really starting to get my harness the horses and get my ducks in a row on the songwriting. So that was a good turning point. And you know, I like some of the guitar on Milk Milk Lemonade. You know, there are things that I like about all of them and things that I dislike about all of them. I can't really say what is the best or what is my favorite.
And few words on this one. Are you gonna reissue or what?
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
gonna that's another one where the multi-track masters have disappeared, but we do have that one. We're lucky that because it only survives in a DAT safety copy that I found in a boot, and it was in my it was in
wow.
a cowboy boot, and that could well have been thrown out with the trash very easily. But yeah, that's another one on the list of reissues for sure. And
So
we're going to
whose
make it
idea
sound way
was
better.
whose the idea was to record a solo album?
Okay. Well, so I would say that the main reason for the solo album's existence, I mean, partly it was that situation that I had referred to with how Revenge is Sweet was I felt like I was in a straitjacket on that, and I didn't get to do the things that I wanted to do with the songs I had. But part of the forces that that led to things going that way
Yeah.
was the band was not that into some of my songs, and there's a thing called the drummer's veto where the drummer just goes like this and refuses to play. And that was our drummer Jim would, he used to say when it was a song he didn't like, he would say, what this would go great on your first solo album. And he used to say that, and so that maybe planted the idea. So I had this huge batch of songs that were in consideration for the Revenge is Sweet album. And it included all those songs that are on that album and many, many, many more. And I think the solo album probably wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for the drummer's veto of Knock Knock Please Let Me In, which I really liked. I still really like. I had planned it for the band. I knew it would be really a great song to do, live with the crowd and stuff. And for whatever reason, I think he thought it was, maybe fair enough. He thought it was too cutesy or something.
Thank you. I have a memory about this song, the Knock Knock song. I can tell you that I bought the record when it came out, and I had it at home. And my drummer used to come to my place to listen to music together. So I know we didn't have the internet, so we were listening to music and making comments about it, and learning somehow. And I clearly remember that I loved the song, and my drummer hated it.
Well, that it's funny that now that I've told that story, it's also it's me playing the drums on it, but you can tell it's not the greatest drums in the world. But I was filling in, I was doing what I could. No, but it was I had all these songs that I had recorded as very rudimentary demos, and I was not sure what was going to happen with them. I knew that I didn't want to record them in that way. So we got Lookout gave Kevin, Army, and I a small budget to just kind of produce a little small time, relatively lo-fi record of some of these songs, and I really liked how it came out. That's I don't have a lot of reservations about it. I think it's I was able to do it my way, and it still hung in there. It wasn't a huge seller, but it did okay. People still like it. I still like it, which you can't always guarantee. But then that experience sort of solidified my idea that I wanted to do something radically different the next time around, which which you know, I use the metaphor that I smashed up the old Mr. T Experience pop punk machine so it couldn't be reassembled, and then and it turned out everybody hated the new machine, which was Alcatraz, but you know, so it goes. It was what happened, and so that there was but basically everyone is a lot of people associate the Show Business Is My Life solo album with Alcatraz as being like that was a transition there. It's actually it's very connected to the Revenge is Sweet album because it's from the same batch of songs. It's the same thing. It's just a different treatment.
That's very interesting. There is a question regarding it, which is, well, actually, everyone likes that album, seems like, from the comments. It's like, who's the female on Knock Knock?
Yeah, so that is my old and dear friend Paige O'Donoghue, who was she's she used to go on tour with us and sell merch and so forth. So, and a lot of people knew her from that. And she's still, I'm saying, talking to her past tense, she's still around. She's a great gal. And yeah, so she was the one who said, who's there? She's also, for anyone who cares, there's some on the Alcatraz song Reactivate Your Heart, there's some backwards laughing that is the outro, that's on the outro of the song, and that's her laughing. And we made it backwards to be, you know, goofy and psychedelic, but basically anyone who knows her knows that she was just laughing all the time. So it's appropriate that she was on there. And she played the triangle on Can I Do the Thing from the Love Is Dead album. So she's been in the mix for many years.
I really like now that every time I will listen to this now, I will consider it the drummer-free version of Revenge is Sweet, and show you. But so first of all, if you want to do a second like solo album with the tremolo guitar, as we mentioned before, you have two guys interested in giving you a budget for it. So
that's a very interesting idea.
Let's do it.
We'll see. I have there's, speaking of you know, that there, like I said, there was this massive volume of songs that those two records did not exhaust it, in fact. And I do have all those demos, which one of these days I'm going to you know, try to excavate those tracks, and that could well be a you know, all those songs from sort of the late 90s, turn of the century. That might be another interesting thing to do. There's some pretty good tunes, as I remember.
Perfect. We have a deal, and then tour to promote them. But we have a lot of questions here. Just another curiosity, like, do you think, you already answered me on this one, but we mentioned Alcatraz. You know, I was one of those, I was in my, you know, late teens and stuff. So when I hear Alcatraz, I could not understand it because my ear were not ready to something that was different from the typical pop punk formula. So do you think that with the songs of Alcatraz, you know, with the same, you know, formula of Revenge is Sweet and Love is Dead, people would have liked it more, or at the end it was just the whole genre that was going, you know, there was less interest in that?
I don't think there was less interest in that per se. I think we could have gone along. We could, there was room to do 2 or 3 more of those if we had wanted to. Lots of bands were doing it. But you know, part of the thing that I wanted to do was to pay more attention to the arranging, and, you know, have do a record where the bass and the kick drum played together, and where you know, I wanted to, you know, basically we were recording like we were a bunch of kids, and I wanted to you know, to be more real, maybe, you know, like, and that part of it worked out great. That was the rhythm tracks are really really solid. There's deficiencies, there's sonic deficiencies. The question of whether people would have liked it if we just turned the gain up on and made it more fuzzy. I bet people would have liked it a little more, but it would not have satisfied the Ramones core. I don't think Ramones core was a word yet, but it would not have satisfied the Ramones core people because we had the songs that went doom, 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 not which I love. I love both of those things, but I wanted to have the two beats rather than the one beat.
Yeah.
And I don't think, you're right. People, they're people like what they like. People believe very passionately in this, and you adopt a rock band as a kind of emblem especially when you're a kid. It represents who you are and what you are, and if it diverges from your idea of what is good for your what is a good representation of you, feel betrayed. And I get it. I was that way too when I was younger. I'm still that way to a degree about certain things, so I get it. But you have to do what you have to follow. Like, it's corny, but you have to follow your star where it leads, and sometimes it leads you to things that are going to be more pleasing to your audience than others. And I think, I don't say it's vindicated now, but there are a whole lot of people who are big fans of that record now.
Exactly.
And I don't know if it would have been the case if we had just tried to squish those songs into that same arrangement sort of mode that we had done before. I wanted to get the songs across, and I don't think that would have done it. So it's hard to say. If I had it to do over again, I probably would have made some of those tracks a little noisier, a little, and more ambient noise, and a little more, and I think that when we get to the point, there's a strong argument for remixing that record and sort of like casting it in a maybe a slightly more aggressive treatment would probably be would bring out some of the special qualities that could have been there. But that's a ways in the future.
Well, one of the masterpieces of that album is I wrote a book about rock and roll, not only because the theme and the lyrics about it is really, we can all rely on that. I guess we all have a journalist like that, but I always put it in the playlist of the summer season on airplane in the park, and it sounds fantastic. It sounds like a unique mixture of rock and roll, power pop, punk, and still fresh these days. We have a question about a specific song here. Actually, we have many questions about specific songs here. Like, what the heck is the song Monkeys about?
Oh yeah, well, so that is a fanciful, hyperbolic exaggeration of a true story. But I think that you just hear the song. When I used to play it, I used to introduce it with this very long Shaggy Dog introduction that was longer than the song. It was about it's about being on the road and trying to figure out a way to maintain a long distance and connection with your significant other, where communication is very spotty. And and I did have I did buy this girl monkey, like a toy, not a real monkey. And so in order to have something to keep to sustain the narrative of I'm gonna be home in 3 months, darling, so just hang on. Oh, guess what? I bought you this monkey. And in that case, that became a topic. It's like, she would always ask me how the monkey was, and I would say, oh yeah, the monkey's great. And we gave the monkey a little personality. And these are the things you do. It sounds really goofy, but anyone who's ever been in that situation, you probably do things just as goofy as that. And basically, somewhere along the line on this tour, I lost the monkey. like I misplaced it somewhere, and then I made the unfortunate decision of lying about it and pretending that this monkey was still around, and I thought I could try to find a replacement monkey, but I couldn't find that particular one, and it turned out I had described the monkey too well. And so I couldn't actually replace it with just any old monkey would do. So basically I had to come clean on the monkey, and writing that song was kind of there's a monkey replacement in that situation. So,
but I guess you described perfectly the idea of being on the road and being having your relationship being on very difficult times, and if you are on the road,
you can.
Yes. Yeah. So another question: any Bombassets reissues?
I think the Bombassets stuff has been reissued. If I'm not mistaken, they did the what's the label called? Eccentric Pop.
Eccentric Pop, yeah.
Yeah. I think they've done I know they did Sweet Baby, and
they did a Sweet Baby.
Yeah. So maybe they did Bombassets. I'm not sure. That's definitely within the purview of the Sounds Radical, remit. If it were to become, popular, I would have to, basically that stuff is owned and controlled by the great Dallas Denry, and if he wanted to make that happen and there was no one else to make it happen, and if Eccentric Pop hasn't already done it, which maybe they have, I'm not sure, there would certainly be a possibility. I think I actually might have at least some of those tapes in my big pile of tapes. I could so yeah, basically could happen when we get there, but it would be up to Dallas if he hasn't already arranged something else.
That's perfect.
Guys, I'm afraid I have to leave the live streaming for tonight. So
it was good seeing you again.
Yeah, it was great to see you, Frank. You guys could go on with the interview, and maybe you play something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yes, that would now be an appropriate time for that.
Of course, you can serenade Andrea leaving.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize, but I'm traveling at the moment. I'm not in my house. As you can see, I don't own such a beautiful sofa. So guys, well, thank you for now. Thank you, Frank. It's been really a pleasure to see you again. And anyway, we're gonna be in touch, and I'm gonna be here next week for the streaming for the Punk Rock Raduno. Thank you, guys.
All right, buddy. Good to see you. All right, I'm just gonna play a song then.
Yes, please.
There was a time when I thought I would die. Every time I thought of you, I'd cry and think myself into a state and drink myself to sleep too late. Well, what was pulling us and me apart was only breaking in my broken heart. Now it's controlled again, on hold again, and more broken in than it's ever been. 'Cause I don't need you now. I can't believe how I ever wondered how I'd ever make it without you. Thinking about you, but I don't need you now. There was a time when I thought I should try to make myself hate you to get by. It wasn't hard to do, to think of you and all the things you put me through. But now I've had some time to contemplate, and I've discovered other things to hate. There's still bitterness I can't resist, but you're moving to the bottom of a pretty long list. So I don't hate you now, and I don't even want to checkmate you now. I still don't like how much you don't want me to touch you, but I don't hate you now. And if I'm crying, well, what did you expect? I've been trying, but I still don't know how not to be a wreck. still aware, you're still out there, still busy breaking someone's heart somewhere. And though to you it's nothing new, for once I got no explaining to do, 'cause I don't know you now, and I don't have anything to show you now, except for all of these apologies that I don't owe you now. I don't need you, 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 I don't need you. Think it's weird how much you don't want me to touch you, but I don't need you now.
Whoa, beautiful. It's too good not to ask you to play another one.
Well, I can.
Later.
What
Later.
are you? I mean, I'm up for whatever. I don't know how long we got here. Is there something particular you'd like to hear?
Well, you just played my favorite one. You know,
I knew it was
have
your favorite. That's why
we say pel de polla in my dialect, which is, you know, goosebumps, and you know, it's and there is someone playing the ocarina, you know, along. So let's do this. I ask you a couple more questions that I got here, and then people can request a song if you know it, if you remember it, and then we say goodbye with that. All because right. I could stay here talking to you, you know, the whole evening, but you know, we have other occasions, and also, you know, first of all, do you have any new material you're working on, or any new project of a Mr. T experience or solo album, and when you're gonna tour Europe again?
Yeah, I am still trying to figure it out. I've got lots of material and I have lots of plans for it, but you know, this whole pandemic thing threw everyone for a loop, and you know, it's going to take some gearing up to figure things out. But ultimately, I do want to release new records of various forms, but exactly how to manifest it is still kind of up in the air. I got lots of songs though.
That's beautiful to hear. That's you know, I'm getting really excited about it. And there was one question. Let's see if I can find. Is there any particular band or record that you are listening right now? There was a comment before asking what you're listening right now.
Yeah, you know, I am kind of. I hate to say it's a terrible thing, but I am in a very retro world, and you know, mostly if it was recorded past around 1979, it almost doesn't exist in my brain. I think Robin Hitchcock used to, when he was asked that, he still probably says this. This is a good line when he's asked what new stuff he listens to, and he says, "My brain's full." But you know, the thing is that you can claw your way back into the past and always find something kind of interesting. I've been listening to a lot of old timey like American you know, finger picking country blues kind of stuff. That's mostly what that's my main interest, because I'm trying to teach myself how to do that. And so, you know, mostly that's what and then old favorite. I'm looking at what records there are out. I recently listened to the records LP, the Soft Boys Can of Bees, and then even there's Frank Zappa Zoot Allures down on the that parts of that are a rough ride, but it's still pretty great. So
beautiful. Then we have really quick another question. If you can choose 5 bands for a festival like the Punk Rock Raduno, which bands would it be? I guess they are referring in particular to maybe punk bands that you played with, or you know, or that you know.
That's a terrible, like, in view of my last answer, that's a terrible question, because I really don't know.
But not, you can even answer not current bands, but you know, for example, let's say the Smugglers, because you like the Smugglers.
Right.
Or
I was going to say I would love to see the Smugglers. I mean, I saw them a few years ago at the Lookout reunion. Yeah, I would love to see the Smugglers. You know, I'm not. This is not my. You're the promoter. You're the concert promoter. I'm sure I would love anything that you put together. I would have a good time at it, but I don't really have an answer to that. I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
But talking about the Smugglers, I always love the two songs you wrote for them. It's two songs, right, from their
Yeah.
album Rosie.
Yeah.
And I remember you playing one of those, Coffee, Tea, or Me, on an acoustic version. Those songs, did you ever record, a version of Mr. T or your version
No,
of that?
those were on that big pile of songs that I was talking about. That the
I see.
Revenge is Sweet in those few years, the Revenge is Sweet, Show Business Life, Alcatraz, those that of that time. And I always wanted to do Coffee, Tea, or Me, and may still. I think my demo of that is pretty good. If I could find it, I would be interested in hearing it again. But yeah, I always wanted to. And that other song, She's Another Thing, is a fine song too. I mean, I don't need to redo it. The Smugglers did it. But if there's ever a time to do, like I told you that I had this idea of maybe doing a kind of companion volume to Show Business Is My Life reissue that has some of these extra songs. That would be one of them.
Beautiful. So now that I know, I'm gonna bugging you every day to record this new solo record and stuff. So let's see. So we answered to that, and we answered to the future. Well, any plans for touring?
That's one of those things that we gotta kind of sort out and gradually. I'm kind of it's hard to know. I know that a lot of bands are booking things, and I kind of have a cautious. I want to see how it works out for them, before plunging in, because there's a lot of uncertainty. And one of these days, I'm sure, it'll there'll be some shows, but taking it slow right now.
Perfect. We are collecting suggestions for your last song, and we are gonna say goodbye. Last question is. There's been a lot of documentaries and writing about, the Bay Area scene or the Lookout scene and stuff like that. And you actually appear on many of those. So for example, the Green Day early years documentary, and then this one, the Turning Around documentary. How do you feel about those, books and documentaries? And do you think like they're pretty, on point on those? Or, there are some things that you think it's a little bit of a nostalgic feeling, so they watch it with nostalgic eyes?
Well, I have to admit that I haven't seen it because I'm too shy to see myself on the sky. I understand that I'm on that Turn It Around, that they use quite a bit of my talking head footage, and I can't bring myself to watch it because of that. Like, I was invited to the premiere, and like everybody was, and it was in a theater and everything at the Grand Lake Theater, and the idea of being in a room full of people who knew me, looking at a 20-foot high Dr. Frank blathering about whatever punk rock, I couldn't do it. And then now I find that I haven't been able to do it even in the privacy of my own home, with just the cat to watch me. But so I can't really say. I mean, it's good people are interested. I don't know that. I mean, my feeling about that scene is that it is largely over romanticized by people. And the reality of it was a lot smaller than the imaginary version. But that said, rock and roll is all about myth and myth making, and so I'm pleased to play a role in the myth making of rock and roll history. But I don't really have an editorial opinion on it. I think that it was at the time it didn't feel to me like anything special was happening. Like I think a lot of people say, it's like, this changed the world. It didn't feel like it changed the world. The Gilman Street place was just a place to play, and it wasn't all that wonderful to play at. And you just did the best you could, sort of scrambling to try to do what you could, and in the process, some really cool things happened, and there's some records of enduring value that that came out of that, which is all great. But I kind of shy away from kind of the propaganda of I don't know, of the revolution when it comes to what is basically just show business. And so I have kind of a cynical attitude towards it, I have to say. But I'm glad it happened, and I'm glad that I'm glad that people are interested.
Well, as you didn't see them, I can tell you that, first of all, you did great. So you should not be shy. And the second one is that it's very interesting, and I think it's good for you to see that a lot of people in those documentaries point that you were one of the starting points as connecting, the punk formula with a more melodic and songwriting approach. So even Green Day say that first time that they could hear something that was, more close to the 60s or 50s melody together with the energy of punk, or the do-it-yourself ethics was basically with you. And many people point that. So it's, I think, you influenced more than maybe, what is normally considered or what you will, think.
Well, yeah, I think that they're in the, whatever that history is, for good or ill, and for what it's worth, the stuff that we did has some place there. And so, which is good. I would have been pissed off if they hadn't invited me. So,
yes. Well, that would have been very unfair. Very unfair. So I think we can, Frank, you've been fantastic, and believe me, I think I can speak for Andrea too, that when you joined the Punk Rock Raduno stage and played with Lone Wolf that set of songs, I mean, that is one of my top in booking a show or doing a festival. That made us really. I even stage dived and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
Yeah. So thank you so much again for that, and I want to bring you over and over because again you have a strong connection with Italy, with Lombardy, with Paolo, Beppe, and everyone. So you're family to us, and I love Lombardy, and I love you guys, and always a pleasure. Let's see. So let's do this. I'm gonna show you some songs that people requested, and then you are gonna pick the one that you want to end up the thing with. So let's see. I Believe in You from Beppe, actually. Then we have, let's see, My Heart. Then we have I Love You, But You're Standing on My Foot. And then we have Athena that is asking since the beginning of the Lone Over Love. And then, you decide.
All right. Well, I can't say no to Beppe, although I may have a hard time remembering it. I didn't prepare anything. So, and anyone who's ever seen me play knows that I am very apt to forget my own songs and my own lyrics because there's a lot of words. But anyway, thanks for having me. We'll see what happens with this song. See that you're discouraged, like you think that it's never ever gonna change. But maybe I'm to blame. Don't know what surprised me. Should have seen it was coming when I saw you go. But I want you to know there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to follow through on the things you set out to do long ago. Sounds odd to come from me, but I can't fake sincerity as well as anybody can. But that's not what I'm doing this time. and I don't really know the best way to convey it. I'm just gonna say it. I believe in you. I think about it so often, the little things that I could have done differently. If I knew what they'd be, don't know why it surprised me. Should have seen where it was going when you came apart. There's nothing wrong with you. You just never made it through all the things I would done to you long ago. I hope you realize how you figure in my eyes, and how much worse the world would be if there wasn't anything like you in it, and how you're someone well worth knowing. I hope you keep on going. I believe in you. I know you're lonely and you don't really understand what things haven't worked out as you planned long ago. But you will find your way, and I'll run into you one day, and you'll tell me that you're okay, and all about the tremendous things you've done, and how you won the day, and where you plan to take it. I think you're gonna make it. I believe in you.
Beautiful. This was Dr. Frank. Thank you so much, Frank. Everyone really loved it, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
For me too. So, guys, thank you so much for joining, and people loved it. Your voice sounds as amazing as ever, they say. And see you next week with more news and more guests for Punk Rock Raduno. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Frank. Again, next week, tomorrow we are gonna, put on sale the McCrackens live, and this week we are also gonna open the event and the pre-sales for the hostel. So again, thank you so much, Frank. I love you. Thank you for existing and for writing.
Ciao.
Ciao.